I'm Aaron from PhoneDog.com, and just over a month after I reviewed it on the website, the Google Nexus 4 is still playing a little bit hard to get on both Google's website and at T-Mobile retail stores and online at T-Mobile.com. The 8 and 16 gigabyte version is still pretty hard to come by, but you know what? That means that it's pretty popular amongst at least the tech crowd, if not a more mainstream base. Just over 1 month later, is this still the ultimate Android device? Let's go find out. More than 1 month later, it's still incredibly hard to find the Google Nexus 4. This device is designed by LG and it's packing some really incredible specs for the price point. It comes in 8 and 16 gigabyte flavors for $299 and $349 respectively, and it's got a 1.5 gigahertz quad-core Snapdragon S4 Pro CPU, a 4.7-inch IPS HD display, an 8 megapixel camera with 1080p HD recording, a 2,100 milliamp hour non-removable battery, Android 4.2, so the latest version of Android Jelly Bean, and it's a stock version, so you Android purists out there are going to love this. It continues on as the latest iteration of a Nexus device. And Nexuses, or a Nexi rather, are intended to be hackable, rootable, moddable. This is the ultimate device to play around with. So Android 4.2, it does have HSPA+, so no LTE. That is the one Achilles heel in terms of specifications, but 2 gigabytes of RAM should make up at least a little bit for that and make it an incredibly fast device all around. So you've seen the review, you've seen the dogfights that we've done. This is the Nexus 4 1 month later. It's a great price point, first of all, if you can find it in an incredible build quality. So you can see here, really a well-built device in comparison to even some of the top-end devices on the market, like the Note 2, the HTC One X Plus, as you can see, which is made with a polycarbonate shell. A really beautiful device that's well built, and again, keep in mind when I say $299 and $349, I'm saying without a contract. You can get an 8 gigabyte version, a 16 gigabyte version. You're not signing a 2-year agreement, and comparatively speaking, you're paying a smaller amount and getting an awesome device. Compare this again to the One X Plus, the Note 2, the Galaxy S3, these devices that are $549 and up. Let's say $699, $799 if you're looking at iPhone 5s. They can get high. Full retail, $299, $349 full retail, you're out the door. It works on T-Mobile and AT&T in the United States and some of the prepaid carriers as well that utilize GSM cell sites, things like Straight Talk, Solivay, and more that utilize AT&T and T-Mobile as an MVNO. But really just a well-built device all around, and people that love Android and stock Android at that are going to love Android 4.2. After a month of working with this device, a little bit more than a month, I can tell you it's incredibly fluid. Project Butter continues over onto Android 4.2, and they've really worked hard to make Android as clean as possible. You can see this new notifications area where if I hold it down once, or if I push down once rather, I've got my access to my usual messages, and you'll notice a little shortcut up here that's changed from stock Android 4.1. This gives me access to a couple of frequently used things. Things like brightness, settings, Wi-Fi, AT&T, as you can see with HSPA+, battery meter, which doesn't really address my battery concerns. I'd still love to see a physical battery percentage indicator up in the top right-hand corner, but still, you can either access this by pressing and holding or dragging 2 fingers, and then to drag 1 finger gets you back to your usual messages, and of course you can swipe back and forth through these. So airplane mode, Bluetooth, quick access to those things that matter most to most people. Now if you're looking for a device that gives you the closest integration of manufacturer and OS you can get, this is it. Not to compare it at all to the iPhone 5, but when you look at the iPhone 5, Apple makes the OS, Apple makes the hardware. Granted, LG does make the hardware here, but Google definitely had a hand in all of this because this is their Nexus line after all. So if you're looking for something that brings that close integration together, you want a real stock experience, this is going to be the device for you. And of course, like I said, nifty features with Android 4.2, things like this, quick access to settings, and more. You've got some nifty camera features as well, including this little feature, which I'm happy to show off. Let's go in here, and we'll do it just like this. And we're going to line it up. We're going to start it. And you can see once I get it aligned, I can create a giant photosphere, as you can see, and move back and forth and around. And I can create a photosphere of the room around me and store those and upload those as I see fit. Now the one downside to this device, there is no LTE, and it may not seem like a big deal, particularly if you're not in an AT&T LTE market. If you are in one, I happen to be in Dallas for example, you really notice the difference after working with LTE and going back to HSPA+. Take a look at this, for example. These are some results that I got this morning. Things from 3.97 megabits per second all the way up to 6.66 megabits per second on the download. Now compare that to something like the Galaxy Note 2 and the HTC One X Plus, both of which are LTE-enabled devices on AT&T. And you can really see the difference here. 32 megabits per second, 38 megabits per second. And again, this is going to be dependent on the market you're in. But take a look here, 15, 20, 22, almost 23 megabits per second on the download. And you can really see a difference between LTE in a market like a Dallas or an Atlanta or New York, and then a market which has just HSPA+. So if you're in a market with just HSPA+, I think you'll be fine. But keep that in mind as you're moving forward. LTE, especially if you're using it right now, it's hard to get away from, and something that you're going to like most likely in your future smartphone. That is the one Achilles heel here. Love the camera. Battery life, it's a little bit iffy at best. To give you an example here, as we see, whoops, we'll swerve here, 69%. When I pulled this off the charger to start this video and get some things downloaded about an hour ago, it was at 82%. Granted, that's pretty heavy use for an hour, but still, keeping in mind it went from 82 to 69%, that's certainly a heavy percentage drop in just 60 minutes, or roughly 60 minutes of time. Also keep in mind the manufacturer installed overlays atop Android. Things like HTC Sense 4 Plus over here and TouchWiz Nature UI over on the Note 2. They do bring some unique software value adds to the table. Things like shortcuts to access camera, S-Beam, things that come with Sense 4 Plus, HTC's custom areas where you can upload images to your TV using their Media Link HD, things like that. You know what, not to say that you can't do them with this device, but they've created a marketing story around it, and for some people, those features really make or break the difference. So I think if you're going into a carrier, you're not concerned about signing a 2-year agreement, there are some really great devices out there. But if you want the stock version of Android, you want a powerhouse, you're either not signing a contract or you're not eligible for an upgrade, the Nexus 4 could be an awesome option for you. Now my next project is to put a Straight Talk SIM card in here. Straight Talk has received quite the publicity over the past couple of weeks and past couple of months. Straight Talk runs off of a multitude of networks. It's an MVNO for quite a few US networks. I'm going to put a Straight Talk SIM card in here and see how this thing performs over about 30 days. So stay tuned for that next week. We're going to run the Nexus 4 on prepaid and see how well it performs, because I want to see more prepaid coverage on the site, and hopefully that'll help you make a more informed buying decision when you go to get the Nexus 4. Because let's be realistic, if you're buying this device, you're probably either not eligible for an upgrade, you're an Android purist, you're looking for a cheaper solution, you want to get your best bang for the buck, and something like Straight Talk or Solivay or another prepaid carrier might be an awesome choice for you. So we're going to do that. Look for that next week, a Straight Talk SIM card in the LG Nexus 4. Keep it locked on PhoneDog.com for continuing coverage. Follow me on Twitter at PhoneDog_Aaron, Facebook, Facebook.com/PhoneDog, Google+, Gplus.to/PhoneDog. All in all, just over 1 month later, this is is a hot device that I think a lot of people will like. It just depends on your personal preferences and what you need in a smartphone. Thanks so much for watching. Stay tuned next week for the Straight Talk SIM card version of this review. We'll review it, we'll take a look over 30 days and see if Straight Talk is all it's cracked up to be. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.